Thank Mike and everybody else for inviting me. Also, another officer I brought with me is Officer Will Pierce. He's part of our unit, but he's kind of like in a separate offset, and he's looking interested going into what we're doing. Obviously, what Mike said, with my background history, obviously I have a very little social life. But this is what I actually do and what I like to do, and this is things that people need to be aware of. So we're just basically we're going to do a large combination of a lot of different things, but the big thing is with situational awareness and any kind of personal safety, basically through your personal life or even like going on vacation or with your family. We got our acknowledgments with President Mono, Susan Bowden, and then Mike as a campus security. Basically, we're going to talk about personal vehicle home safety and awareness, ATM awareness and skimming, workplace and school violence, self-protection, and self-defense with Article 35. So we're going to actually tell you it's okay to defend yourself. The law says you can do that, as long as you're within the parameters of why you're doing it. And we're going to talk about a little bit of cyber and internet awareness. Basically, with the situational awareness, simple definition, okay, is the ability to identify, process, comprehend any crucial elements of information, what's going around you and others during a certain situation. You got to know what's going on. The days of having your head kind of in the sand or in the clouds are basically over, because we know that we have certain things that are going on daily in our daily lives, and we have major incidents like active shooters in colleges and medical institutions that we have to be aware of. Oops. Okay, five ways to increase your personal safety, real simple. You want to eliminate the opportunities. If you think you're in a situation that may make you a target, okay, you want to eliminate that. You want to leave that area. You want to increase your awareness. You want to be cognizant of most comfortable and cognizant locations. So you want to be aware of where you are at all times. You want to trust your instincts. How many folks here have been in a situation where you get that hair in the back of your neck stand up, or that gut feeling, it's like, you know what, I'm not going to go here. Okay, that's your body telling you, you know, they get the little danger flag. Do not go there because something's going to happen. And then later on, you find out on the news, or you hear through, you know, student body or of the staff that something actually happened, and you go, oh, I could have been there. Thank God I wasn't there. You always want to prepare, okay? You always want to be prepared in your daily schedule for any kind of safety, okay? That's leaving your house, coming to work, going to school, teaching a class, taking a class, going out, going on vacation. You always want to have that safety element in mind, and you always want to know how to react in that situation. Because has anybody been in the defensive driving courses, the 5 hours? It's like watching paint dry. What's the big thing they keep on doing? That what if situation? What if something happens? Okay. And that's, you have to have that, not just for driving, but like say you're a professor here and you're teaching a class. What happens if I get an unruly student? What am I going to do? What happens if I'm going from one class to another and there's a fight or there's a critical incident that's occurring? What am I going to do? Am I going to get on the red phone and call security? Am I going to call the security number or 911? You always have to have a plan. Okay? Basically, like I said, trust your intuition. Okay? Always take an appropriate action. Change your situation, your instincts, your best personal safety, and you have to figure out what's going to be the appropriate action. The best way is to remove yourself from that situation. The only time I promote engaging only if your life is in danger or somebody else's. Okay, because the thing is, if you're engaging into an adversary, you're really not sure who that adversary is, and everybody here has a family to go home to. You want to engage and get into a fight and get injured or killed? Or you want to call the professionals to take care of the problem and you go home to your loved ones? That's what you have to look. Everybody wants to kind of be a hero, but the thing is, there are some negative results of doing that. I mean, we do this for a living. We get paid. And we know if it goes bad, we can get killed. Okay, we get alerts on it daily of cops throughout the nation getting assaulted, getting stabbed, getting cut, getting shot. But you know what? We don't expect you guys to do that. That's what we get paid to do. Okay, use all your senses. Okay, use your sight, your hearing, your taste, your touch, your smell. Okay. Because the thing is, if you're not using your senses, those are the key points in your body to tell you if there's danger. Okay, you smell smoke, if there's a fire. You hear a gunshot, those are your ears working. Okay, if you're walking down the hallway or you're in a classroom and you get that really weird taste in your mouth, okay, there's something going on that you can't see. So the things you want to always use your senses. And a quick thing is, and we've always seen it, okay, get rid of the headsets. Okay, the earbuds. Okay, I know some people take public transportation. Okay, you can't hear what's going on. Okay, everybody goes out for a walk or goes to the park. They got their, they got their headpieces on. How can you hear anybody approaching you from behind with a headphone on? You can't. Okay, so if anything, maybe use one piece or just don't use any at all. Okay, or what I do is I take it and I attach it below my ears. Okay, or I attach it to my throat. I can still feel the vibrations and still hear a little bit of the noise coming through my skin, but my ears are unplugged, so I kind of hear it. And that also makes you aware of, helps you avoid becoming a victim. You pick up any subtle titles or clues or red flags, and it will make you react quickly. If you know you see danger, you're going to react in an appropriate amount of time. Okay, if you do have to engage with somebody, be assertive, okay? Or during your normal way of life, walk and move with confidence. Don't walk slouched over. Don't look at your shoes. You don't already know what your shoes look like, but walk with your head straight, with your back straight. And if you do see somebody, don't challenge them. Just look at them. So at least you have that in an image. Because if something did happen where you were pushed on the ground and the last image you saw were your shoes, and we come up and we ask you, can you give me a description? And the only thing you have embedded in your mind is the last thing you saw, which was the ground in your shoes. But if you saw something, or you have an image of a person, then you can actually have that little self-image in your head, and you can give them a description. Also use your voice, set your boundaries. Kind of educate people, how to treat you, or scream or cause a scene if necessary. Tell somebody that's in your, within your personal space to step back. What's the average length for a personal space to avoid a personal space? Arm's length. Anybody closer than your arm is too close, except if it's a family member or a friend or somebody you want to give a hug.
Real quick about your body and appearance, I always tell people just your natural appearance is big too, because it exudes confidence. I always tell people people tell us on the street hey, I just saw an officer down the street, he had crumbs on his shirt, his tie was hanging down, he didn't have his shoes were real dirty. People get that perception that maybe they can take that cop, or maybe he's not prepared, or he's not all with it. So when they look at him, when you look at people, you automatically judge people a lot of times anyway. So when they look at us, they go, okay, well, that cop looks like a bag of shit. Maybe he's not going to be prepared when I do A, B, or C. When they run into, say, a cop down the street over here who's got his tie on, his hat, his shoes are clean, his uniform is pressed, he looks like he's ready for whatever may happen. He has that confidence, he's walking with his, with his head up. Hey, that guy, maybe I don't want to mess with that cop today. He looks like he's all there. He's prepared for whatever may happen. So, like you said, appearance is big. Just the way you look every day when you go out the house, and the way you portray yourself. So.
And also use your voice. That's your biggest asset. You tell somebody, step away. Please, you're in my personal space. You step back. Or if they really become really annoying, you can yell at them and actually yell at them saying, step back. And by yelling, also, you're assuring that you're in charge of the situation and you're gaining attention from anybody else in the area. Okay, like we said, your personal safety. Plan your itinerary with safety in mind. Okay, know the safe places where you live, work, and go to school. Okay, does everybody know where the police station is in Schenectady if you had to go there? Okay. Safe places, your police stations, your fire stations, any businesses that are open 24 hours. I'm not talking about the corner stores, but maybe a big business like a Walmart or a Walgreens or a CVS, because a lot of those grocery stores and the drug stores are open 24 hours. Yes, ma'am.
I remember when CDTA used to offer it to buses as a safe place years ago.
Yes.
Do you know if they're still?
Yes, they are.
with that?
The only bad thing about that is you got to know the bus route, because after midnight, especially if people are out, the buses run like a skeleton or an express route. The only time they actually increase their routes on after hours are to have the bus driver, which has direct communications to his dispatcher, which we can call any appropriate law enforcement agency, plus they have a camera. All the buses have cameras. So if anything happens, all that stuff is documented. But the point, with the bus, you have to kind of judge that where you are. Now, if you are out in the street, you're going to your car, and somebody's following you, and you have a city bus there, yes, absolutely. Get into the bus. Hey, could you call the police department? Somebody's following me. The bus will automatically shut down. He'll call his dispatcher and say, listen, I have somebody that's requesting the police. Can you, send the appropriate agency? And you're all set on that. Also with your valuables. Okay, does everybody carry all their stuff together? Okay. Do we think that's a good or bad thing?
Could be a bad thing.
Right, because, well, yes. Because if you had your purse with all your valuables, your wallet, your cell phone, and I grabbed your purse, then I took everything, right? And I understand that you sometimes, with your profession, sometimes you have to have a big case with everything, but have stuff separated. Maybe have a cell phone in maybe a pocket, maybe have your wallet in a different area. Because if someone took your wallet, okay, but you still have the cell phone. You can still call for help. It's like, yeah, I'm in the northeast part of the campus parking lot by the bridge. Yeah, Freeman's Bridge, right? Is that still Freeman's Bridge?
Mm-hmm.
What? Scotia Bridge. So you can at least give a description where you are. And depending, or even if you hit one of the emergency blue boxes, at least now security knows where you are. But the thing is, if you're somewhere and you don't have your cell phone, you're going to kind of run into a little dilemma. So, have things kind of separated. Okay, also, these are just kind of simple points. Walk in a well-lit area, well-traversed streets, don't use shortcuts or parking lots. I also avoid facing traffic if you're in the street. Theoretically, you're supposed to go with the flow of traffic. But getting back to, if someone wants to abduct you and put you in a vehicle, you'll never see the vehicle coming. Now, does everybody remember that incident that happened over in Saratoga Springs a few years ago when the woman was abducted by an employee who worked for the racetrack? It was MS-13, he was a Mexican gang member. He got convicted. But basically what it was, he came up with a vehicle, grabbed this woman, threw her in the vehicle. So basically, you want to see what's going on. And also on the other end, if someone is an erratic driver, drunk driver on drugs, road rage, whatever, and you see this car weaving, then you're going to have that time to react to get out of the roadway. But if he's coming from behind you, you'll never know. So it's kind of, they'll give you, so you're kind of a little bit of the eight ball of a situation. And basically, if anybody tries to pull yourself in a vehicle, okay, game's on, folks. There are no rules, okay? Because you have to remember you're going home to your family. So you do whatever you need to do, okay? You got your vulnerable areas, you got your groin, you got your throat, and you got your eyes, okay? Everybody carries a pen, okay? Some of the ladies have longer nails. If someone grabs you and they're trying to abduct you, first thing you do, grab your fingers right in their eyes or the throat. And we're going to touch on that in Article 35 for justification later on, why you're legally to do that, okay?
One of the things to remember real quickly, is if you get taken to a second location, if you get picked up and taken to a second, your chances of survival are nil. Very, very low. You want to do everything you can to avoid being taken to another location.
And then just obviously do not, if you're going to your vehicle or your house, don't fumble with your keys. Have everything ready. We've all seen people do, they'll have their knapsack, and then they start fumbling through their knapsack with their keys. They're waiting by their door, they're waiting by the car. Well, if I'm a bad guy that wants to do something to you, that gives me ample time to go and do it. If I'm going to my car and I have a knapsack, which I do carry when I get out of work, I got all my stuff in it. My keys are in my hand. and then I hit my remote, my door opens up, I throw my knapsack in the front seat, I jump in the car, my car locks up, and I'm ready to go. I'm not going through my knapsack or any kind of bag.
I put my keys between my fingers.
Which is okay. Now,
No, you're smart.
which is
I'm with
good.
that.
How, and with that technique, have you ever hit anything with your keys?
I never have had to know.
Okay. When you do that,
Uh-huh.
yes, but what you want to do too is you want to hold those keys very, very tight. Okay, because if they're loose, what's going to happen if you hit something? Those keys are going to go into your hand. Now you're going to injure your hand. So if you're going to utilize your keys as a personal defense weapon, you hold on them with a death grip, right? And then so if you do have to do something, then the keys aren't going to go anywhere and you're not going to get injured. But if it's, has anybody shot a shotgun before? Okay. What's the first thing they do? Get the stock and the butt right into the crink of your elbow or your shoulder, right?
Feel it.
What happens when you don't?
There goes your shoulder.
There goes your shoulder.
Close your eye.
Right.
Yeah.
And exactly. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I don't want to do this again. And a day later when you get home, you got this big bruise. But if you held it tight in, there's no bruise. So it's the same concept. Okay. Obviously, also a little trick or tip. Someone's walking up behind you or approaching you, and you're not sure the intent, make eye contact. Because that image will help law enforcement. If something happens, we have a description. Okay, and that also makes them aware that you know that they're there. Also, another tip on that, if you are going to make a description or you look at somebody, quickly go through your mind. Male, hooded black sweatshirt, tan khakis, or tan pants. And just go over that in your mind very, 2 or 3 or 4 times. Because everybody's been under stress, right? And somebody asks you what happened, and you draw a blank, right? But if you keep on memorizing that particular image, it's kind of like, for a second, imagine a pink elephant. Put that in your mind, right? And that's kind of strange. And then we're going to try to tell you to take it out of your mind. You can't. It's stuck. Same thing with that. Okay? It also helps you if you're a victim. And obviously, if someone's following you across the street, and if you're still being followed, go to a safe place or call 911. Now, on everybody's phones, you have it pre-dialed as a 911? Or do you have, you have like an automatic, like if you hit like a certain key, like 1, it automatically kicks in? Okay, check your phone. Some phones are like that. So the thing is, if you just hit your phone, and sometimes you can hit 911, or you can just hit just 1 key. That will automatically go in, you can actually program it. So a lot of phones are different. So, I mean, with one phone I have, I'm able to do that. Other phones, I can't. So just check with that, but you're only looking at 3 numbers.
Just like real quick, what he said too about people's clothing, just when you look at somebody, try to remember something, because it gives us something to go off of. If we get there and somebody takes off, other times too, people will take off their clothes or out, or their hoodie, whatever, their sweatshirt, their pants. We may find it 2 blocks later, but it still gives us something because we find their clothing, we can have a canine come over and do a track from that point, which a lot of times leads us right to either a car drop point or somebody's house or whatever, and it still gives us something to go off of.
Now,
Just a little bit.
what would you think would be a most essential part of clothing you want to remember?
Shoes.
Shoes.
Yep.
Exactly, shoes. They're not going to take off their shoes. They may take their jacket off, depending on what they're wearing on the pants, maybe a sweatpants or one of those rip-away pants, but they're not going to take off their shoes. So if they have anything distinctive, like bright fluorescent sneakers or anything like that, that's what you're going to have to wear, because that's what we're going to look for. We may find a guy with maybe khaki pants with a red t-shirt, because we really don't know what he's wearing under that, but he's got bright orange sneakers. There we go. Because with that, we can actually identify him and then, put him into custody based on your description. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about vacation safety tips.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Before we move on, I had a situation years ago where I was driving at night, and I was alone in the car, and I noticed there was a car following me. And, it took a while to figure out the car was following me, so I tested it. I turned down some roads, and sure enough, it followed me. And So I decided at that point that I wasn't going to drive home, because
Right.
they were going to follow me to my home. So I did see a police officer driving the opposite direction and flashed, and the person stopped, the police officer
Right.
stopped and went after the car. So I just want to, say that's another thing to be aware of. Like,
Well,
when
actually, you're
driving.
ahead of me, because
And to know where the police station was, because I was on my way there.
okay, because actually, we'll touch on that, but that's a good point. Now, does everybody take the same route going home every day? Okay, I got a lot of no's, which are good. Do I have any yeses? Okay, try a different route. I know it's a pain, I know. But you know what the point is, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I go and I live up in Gilderland, and I take the back roads. Well, nobody's driving at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I see the same car. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna go past my residence. I'm gonna keep on driving. And then I'm gonna just kind of like sucker him to, because I know where the Gilderland station is. So, you know what? I'll just go that direction, and if he wants to follow me, then I can follow him right into Gilderland. But no, if you think that somebody is following you, do not go home. Especially when you have kids and stuff like that, you don't want to do that. Now, does everybody check their mirrors all the time when they're driving to find out who's behind them? Okay? And kind of like, okay, I got a blue car behind me, and then I got maybe a couple cars behind that. And then just kind of always check your mirrors, because you always want to be aware, like getting back to our situational awareness. You always want to know what's going on, especially if you're by yourself. Now, would you call like your significant other, say, hey, listen, you know what? Somebody's following me. Can you meet? If they're home, can you meet me somewhere else? If that's an option, you may want to do that too. Yes, I know you're not supposed to operate your cell phone while you're driving, but in these circumstances, if you're going to call your husband, okay, and say, listen, you know what? I'm coming home late from work. I think somebody's following me. Could you meet me at the CVS or meet me at, the Hannaford or whatever the case may be? So at least, you know what? If they follow you in there and your husband or significant other is there waiting, at least he can get the description of the driver, the car, or the license plate, because you won't be able to do that unless you can read numbers backwards, right? Most people can't, or under stress they might not be able to see it, but at least they have a description, and then you're there with a safe person, and then you can go and make that report. So at least you have something documented. Because it's very important you do not want not to document anything, because you want to at least put it somewhere in the record, because if something happens later on, at least we have a documentation. Because it's very helpful for law enforcement. Because I know a lot of people, they don't want to bother the police. It's not important, I don't want to bother them. But actually, it's not a bother for us. It's actually, it's a tool. Because the thing is, even to the point if somebody was following you, and depending on what department, they may put special attention on your house for extra patrols. Or they may assign maybe a plainclothes or unmarked car down the street to say, you know what, maybe this person may be a victim of a stalker. So then would they get more surveillance and get some more information?
And it's good and bad too, like having a set pattern sometime, because then if we're looking for you, well, my mom always goes to the Stewards to get her coffee at 7:15, and from there she goes right to this way, she goes here. It gives us something to go off of a lot of times, but it also is bad because, just like we all know, you live next to somebody. I'm sure you probably know some of your neighbors' habits, when they're home, when they're not home, whose car is that, who's this. So it's easy to pick up, it's easy for me to watch you for a couple of days and figure out your pattern, if I really wanted to, and figure out where you're going or where you're going to be or which way you go, if I'm looking to do something. So it is good once in a while to change things up. The majority of the people, your personal life or your significant others, they know your patterns or they know your history. So if you do deviate from that a lot of times, they still have something to go off of, or a ballpark figure where you may be or what may be going on, because they know you, where a stranger doesn't know. So if you change it up once in a while, you throw them off. But the people that really know what's going on, they still have some sort of an idea where you may be or what's going on. So just remember that.
You can also call and tell your family that you're taking a different route to be home.
Yep.
I'm going to go by the grocery store, I'm going to go do this first. So that they have,
Yep.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if they, like you said, it's good and bad, if they know your habits, your neighbors and so forth, they know when you're coming home and you're leaving. And maybe somebody does want to harm you, they know when you're coming and when you're leaving all the time. So that can be bad. right?
I agree. I mean, like where I live, my neighbors next door to me are both kind of older. And because I work different hours all the time, my neighbors never know when I'm home. They're like, we don't know if you're home, your truck's outside, but we don't know if you took your car. They never know where I'm at. I'm in the garage. So my hours are, because our hours are different a lot of times, it's harder for people to maybe figure out when we're home and what we're doing if you live alone or something like that. But still, for the most part, I mean, I always advise people to change up their habits, never constantly do the same thing over and over again, because at some point, usually most of the time when there are crimes committed against people, it's because somebody's picked up on their habits and they end up watching people. That's the majority of the things that happen to people. They just didn't know they were being watched. I mean, just like you come to work every day, there are people who all they do is either watch people commit crimes, whatever they're doing. That's their job. That's what they do all day long. So while you're doing this, they're focusing on where you're going to be next. Oh, is she in that class? Or is she here? That's their main focus. So I always try to tell people, change up your pattern.
And a prime example, because when we had a ration of residential burglaries in Albany in the Buckingham Pond neighborhood, we had one guy who was actually watching all the residents, okay, going to work and coming home. And he was watching this one particular house, as a retired woman, late 60s. So every day she'd go do some volunteer work, and she'd leave about 10 o'clock in the morning, coming back about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. One particular day, she was doing her routine, except she was going to meet her friend for lunch, but she realized she didn't have any money or whatever the case may be. She went back to her house. Who was at the house? Somebody breaking in. So, getting back to the routine, even if you have a routine, even if you have maybe a half an hour time span, go in, park the car in the driveway, just catch up on some errands or some paperwork or do something. But if anybody's watching you, if you break up that time span of like from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and you show up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, now you put a whole new twist on it, and this person has really no idea if you're going to show up or not. And which is also a thing that it's strange that we've always experienced. But does the postal delivery carrier come always at the same time?
Close.
But a lot of times they change up. All right. One, it's not done intentionally for the people looking for their mail, but basically what it is, they're having problems with people stalking the carriers. So when the carriers drop off mail in the mailboxes and they go around the corner, these guys are picking up all the mail. And then what they're doing is we've all had these cards, you've been approved for $10,000, a new credit card. So what they're doing is taking that, filling out, and pretending to be somebody else and go for identity theft. So, so they're changing up too. And then just on that point too, is anybody that has a mailbox, get a locking mailbox. The standard ones are great, but if you have one that has a lock, that they just slide the mail through, but nobody can get it, then when you pick up your mail, you could just, open it up with a key. Or, on the other thing too, is if you get a lot of magazines or small boxes or packages, make a key for your postal carrier. So if he does have to deliver something, he can put it right in your mailbox instead of giving you a tag, leaving it in your mailbox, and then you have to go to the post office to pick it up. So there's a couple different ideas. But if and that's what a lot of, in a lot of the suburban areas, like Illinois Colony, because everybody works during the day, mail's delivered during the daytime, and all these guys are scouting the neighborhoods, looking through the mailboxes, picking up whatever they want. So that's a trick one of the bad guys are doing. So, now we're going to quickly do a brief on vacation trips. Okay, do your homework on the location you're going. Has everybody left the country, gone to like Mexico or anything like that? Have you researched about the crime stats, what's going on in that location? No, yes? Okay, a lot of times we go to like the inclusive resorts. So everything's inclusive, everything's right there. But we always have that tendency, we want to just go out sightseeing. Well, there's certain areas in certain countries, you do not want to leave the hotel area. Okay, because it's dangerous. So that's why they have the inclusives. There's for a reason for that. So if you can Google it or go through Homeland Security or many other different websites, and you can look for any kind of crime stats in that area, or the history, or the ratings, or if there's tour areas, or if you're going to somewhere in the U.S. Say you're going to Boise, Idaho, all right? Google Boise Police Department and look for the crime stats and find out how dangerous that area is. Because especially if you're there for a conference or for vacation or personal reasons, you may know that going out at a certain hour is not good. Prime example, I had to go to Springfield, Mass. For 3 days of training. Beautiful city, during the daytime it was nice. But we were also told, do not go sightseeing or wandering or driving around past 9 o'clock at night in certain areas. Because the whole concept of the city changes after dark. Also, when you go out, take essential items like credit cards, and et cetera. Don't take a lot of things. Okay, if you're going to go on vacation, take 1 or 2 credit cards. You don't need to take a dozen. Because if something happens, you will lose everything. So just take what you actually would need. Basically, be smart when you pack what you need are essential. Who also takes photographs of their grandkids or their daughters, or young kids. Put them on Facebook. Do you go through all the security features of Facebook? Yes, no? Okay. Now, I'm a predator. And I'm not to pick on you, but you've got that, Now you have your daughter graduating cheerleading school. Put it on Facebook, right? Now I'm a predator. Now I will then Google certain apps and certain programs, all right? And based that you took that photograph with a smart device, so it could be a camera, a smartphone, with longitude and latitude, I can find out where that was taken. Okay? Right now it's like, oh my God, yeah, you got that. And I can actually find out where your daughter lives. And then now I will go back and start my little stalking episode. Yes, ma'am.
Is that because you're an officer, or is that something?
If you're computer savvy,
Yeah,
or
you're
people that know
computer
this
savvy.
stuff, this is what they do. This is
You
how
know.
they
I
figure.
want a cell phone so you can turn off your location or whatever so it won't say where you are.
Yes and no. You can manually turn it off, but sometimes it has an override and it will kick it back on and you may not even know it. So you're going to have to know, because each cell phone or each smart device is different. You have to read the instructions. And we really, if you look at the instructions, we're confused within like the first 15 minutes. So the best thing you do, go back where you bought the phone or the smart device, Verizon, and have somebody break that down and actually show you of all the safety devices, because some of them have overrides or default features. So if you don't wipe everything out, sometimes it will automatically kick back on. Now I have one cell phone that I'll turn off my GPS location, and when my phone turns off, it automatically kicks back on again, because it's already defaulted for GPS. So you're going to have to check with whatever phone system that you have. Also, does everybody make any kind of photocopies of any documents when they go away? Okay. Right, very important. Now, if you lost your credit card, does everybody memorize their credit card or their emergency customer service fund number for the Visa or MasterCard? No. Now, I take your credit card now, I'm going to town spending it on your account. But if you had a photocopy of it, you can keep it on yourself or just tuck it in a little pocket in your luggage. Because if you lost that, then you can call customer service, cancel it, and then when you contact whatever law enforcement, they have that number on record that that's a stolen credit card. Do a little intel to find out, okay, you know what, I shouldn't park my car here because I don't have an overnight late. I want to park it closer to my door or closer to an entrance. Inquire the desk if there's security present and their duty hours. There's a lot of hotels that don't have security, or they'll have security after hours. You're going to want to know that, okay? Because if you decide, you're out for dinner, you're coming back maybe 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, or you decide you ran out of ice at 2 o'clock in the morning, you want to make sure that hotel or motel is being patrolled. Okay, beware of any advertisement slipped under the door. Okay, does anybody know where I'm going with this? Has anybody heard about this? A lot of the hotels, if I'm a bad guy or a crook, I will then slide an advertisement, like say for pizza, right? Buy one pizza, get one free, compliments of Holiday Inn Express. They make a flyer. You kind of think that's part of the hotel. So you call that number, you give them your credit card number, right? And you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and there's no pizza. Call the number back, it's a busy sound or out of order. So now they got all your information. So with that, if you do want to order out or for delivery, first thing, go right down to the desk. Who delivers here and what are the good restaurants? Because most likely the best people will tell you because they're supporting local merchants. So anything that gets slid over, because we've all been to hotels that anybody can walk into the hotel. If you don't check into the front desk, you can walk in through the side and start wandering around through the rooms. So be aware on that. Always keep your door locked, even if you're in there. Okay? And I'm also saying use the slide door. The slide bar. Has anybody gone to hotels and checked your card key, your door keys to see if they open up any other doors? Try that next time. Scary. Because yes, they will erase it, but sometimes what happens if they don't erase it? That are so big they have to wrap rubber bands around them. So we know they got a lot of stuff in them. But always keep the essential stuff in your wallets and put it in your front pocket for the guys. I mean, I also know girls that do the same thing. My cousins do the same thing. But the thing is, if you get pushed down, then someone can grab it. And then when you're walking away, you're telegraphing to everybody what you have in your back pocket. If you have it in your front pocket, a lot of times they can't see it. For the girls and the females, have stuff tucked in, okay, underneath your arm. I've seen a lot of ladies who are walking through, a lot of the students, they'll have their purses and, they're just dangling. All I have to do is then grab them. Also, when you're, dining out, always keep your purse on your lap. Now, how many people have gone out to dinner with their husbands, tell them that, I'm going to the restroom, I'll be right back, watch my purse. You come back, he's at the bar, the purse is still on the table. Yes, yes? Okay, take it with you, ladies, okay, because you know what? Even though we're the smartest species in the world, sometimes the guys aren't the smartest guys, all right? And if we can sneak out and get something without anybody knowing about it, we're going to do it. We're like kids sometimes. So if you go to the restroom, take it with you, and anything that's valuable. Same with your cell phones or anything like that, take it with you. Also, don't hang anything from the back of the chair, like over here, because somebody can walk by, you can be preoccupied having dinner, having a conversation. They can just pick up and walk away, fit right in the crowd. Also, be aware of any kind of crowded situations. Okay, have that purse close by you. And then if you're on public transit or if you're anything like downtown Albany or they actually have events here. Well, obviously downtown, like with the Alive at 5, when everybody's like really close, right? Just have that purse close by. Also for easy targets, like I said, for people slunched over or preoccupied with different things. And when you're approaching the car, do a quick scan. Does everybody look at their car and look on the inside of the car before they go in? Okay, look around it. If you have to walk around it, that's okay. It only takes, 3-4 seconds? Okay, and then does everybody have a remote? Or does everybody, somebody still have the old-fashioned key? Okay, if you have the remote, what's the first thing that goes on inside of your car? Your light. Look in your car first. Because if you accidentally don't lock your door, or one door is not fully closed, and you lock it with the remote, that door is now open. So if somebody wanted to jump in the back seat and waited for you to get in, they're inside your vehicle. So look inside your car. And then check for anything unusual, flat tire, fluid leaks, of any of that nature. We did have an issue a few years ago down in the state parking lots, which were Lower Sheridan Avenue, which at that time was kind of a shady neighborhood. People would go to work, they would watch the people that would leave the vehicles. Then they would pick their targets. So when they're coming back, or they knew what time they were going to get there because they get out of work at 4, by 4:15, 4:20, they're coming back to the vehicles. What are they doing? They're throwing some oil, letting underneath the car, or letting the air out of the tires. And then you come up and now you're in a panic mode because you want to get home, because you want to get out of Albany because the place is driving you crazy. And all of a sudden this good Samaritan comes out of nowhere. Oh, listen, I can help you out. What can I do for you? And then your guard goes down a little bit, and next thing you know, you're a victim of a crime. Have the buddy system so you guys can walk and watch each other. Or with here, you know what? Have security give you an escort. Because they have the escort service here. Because actually, I looked in the policies for the school. So if you need an escort, have security give you an escort.
There have been a couple times when I walked into my car and security's been right there taking me.
There you go. There you go. So you're right ahead of the game.
And
So
we-
you're already thinking, and you didn't, and that's exactly what you want
And
to
I
do.
always tell people real quick too, when you're driving around, say you're in a neighborhood you don't really know too well, or it's late at night, or it's maybe not the best of neighborhood, always make sure your doors are locked while you're sitting at a light, because I know in Albany a lot of times in certain neighborhoods, people have been driving home late at night and their doors are unlocked, and people will open up the door, assault them in their car, steal things and take off. Before you know it, they're gone and you didn't even know what happened. So I always advise people to make sure your doors are locked too,
Yeah.
especially when you're in your car.
Like we stated, walk with others as possible. Okay, be aware of any noises or movements or anybody loitering around your car. Have your keys in your hand. Once inside, if someone approaches, do not open your car, your door, or your window. And like we stated before, at security, ask for an escort.
Does everybody here know that you can ask security for an escort to your car? Just want to make sure everybody knows.
Right. When driving, like Will said, okay, have your vehicle locked. Don't get yourself boxed in. You want an exit plan. Because we've all been in traffic jams before, and then we had that opportunity to get into the other lane because we had an open spot to leave, but we couldn't because we only got 2 feet between us and the other car. Have at least enough room where if you had to leave. And like we said before, getting back when you're driving, someone's following you, make several turns. Do not go to your destination. And then if it continues late, go to a safe area. Getting back to a little road rage. Okay, some of the temptations to fall on the road, remain calm. You don't want to go in that panic mode. You don't want to get sucked into that drama that he's presenting. Start blowing your horn, gain attention. Because a lot of times if you're blowing your horn, you're going to have other vehicles around you. They're going to pick up on that clue. And then if something happened, at least somebody will actually see what's going on. But if you don't bring that incident to somebody's attention, then you know what? If you need that as a witness, you may not have it. And plus, by blowing the horn, you may be startled that you're paying attention and you're not going to deal with his nonsense. Not saying to get into bumper cars, but if you start laying right on that horn, you may just, it's kind of like yelling at somebody. They're going to like yelling at a dog. They'll run away. In that case, that very well happen. And like I said, avoid falling into routine patterns for your activities. So either go to work or go to school, or take a different route, maybe every other day. And the same thing with coming home. Also, that also helps if you run into a traffic jam. Does everybody take like the highway, like 890, where they come over? Okay. What happens if 890 got closed down because of an accident? Right. You know how to get right to Route 5 or down State Street. Or then you'd have that ability that if you can get off maybe the Michigan Avenue exit, instead of going downtown, I can take that and kind of go the back way and go somewhere else. Always when you lock your doors, remember even when you're driving your door, you can lock your doors. Even if you don't, the newer vehicles do have the automatic locks. Once you go over 10 miles an hour, they will lock. But if you don't hear that click in, manually lock it and make sure they're locked. And then always lock your doors when you're home and away. How many people don't lock their car doors when they're home? Always? You don't? Ma'am, I'm going to pick on you. Why is that?
Well, I live in like a pretty rural area, so I don't have like a lot of neighbors or anything.
So you live in a very false sense of security.
Yeah.
Okay. So you live in a rural area, you don't have too many neighbors. Okay. Now, what happens if I want to get into your car? Right? You open up that accessibility to me, because now I can get in your car. Now, do you go to, what time do you leave for work?
For work, I usually work night.
Good, perfect. You work at night, you leave your car unlocked. Now I kind of see you, I'm kind of a vagrant, okay, and I'm walking around, or now all of a sudden I see a house, I see one person living there, my car's unlocked. I jump in the back seat, huddle down, right, maybe throw a blanket or maybe that extra jacket you have in the back seat. Car's unlocked, you're not paying attention, you're driving on the way to work, and next thing, surprise, you got a visitor in the back seat. Okay, even if you live in a rural area, you still got to lock your doors, right? Put a screwdriver, so if somebody had the same frequency for a remote, it's only going to go up a certain distance, and then it stops because you have that object in that track, and then there's a hole in the track, and then as the wheels are going up, it's just going to stop. You don't have to get fancy. Just put that right in there, because when you leave, you just pull that out. and put that aside, and then you can open up your door. Because you want to be secure in your own residence. So I don't want to get everybody in a crazy panic mode, but little simple things like that will help. Yes?
I have a question. A friend of mine who lives in Schenectady, the Schenectady police were mentioning that the keyless entry, that there were thieves being able to pick up on the radio frequency of them hitting the button and locking the car. They said you need to go and open your door and lock it manually inside the car. Because they were sitting down the street and they were, I couldn't believe it, and they were like
correct.
a rash.
Because nothing is perfect in this world. And
Yeah,
the thing is,
that was
how
incredible.
many cars are being manufactured? Okay, we'll say you got a Chevy Impala with a remote. How many Chevy Impalas are made?
Mm-hmm.
There's only certain number of radio frequencies.
Well, she had a Lincoln Continental, and by God, they were in that car looking for anything
Right.
of value. But there was a rash of them on that street.
Right, and the thing is, you could easily, over the internet, say you lost your remote, so you Google, Lincoln Continental 2015,
Find anything.
right? And you could order an aftermarket with the same frequency on it. Mirrors, they don't have mirrors in there. And they're in certain areas, part of campus, which it's down at the end of the hallway, and there's no pedestrian traffic or person traffic going around. So, if you see somebody hanging around the elevator, okay, and you feel comfortable, leave the lobby or the hallway, go to a safe place. Wait for additional people to show up, or grab somebody to go with you, where it's safe. If it does have a mirror, check the mirrors, okay? You want to have like a 270-degree view. Check up, see if they have mirrors, find out if anybody's hiding somewhere. Like I said, scan the elevators corner to corner. Does anybody do the little sneak and peek before they go in the elevators, or they just walk right in? I got a yes for the sneak and peek. Okay, good idea. Just walk in, a quick check to the left, a quick check to the right, because you know what's at the back side of the car. But most of the cars, they got the blind spots on the right and left-hand side, especially where the control panel is. So you quickly want to check that. Obviously, if someone makes you uneasy in an elevator, get out. If you're across it, there's an incident going on, hit every button, hit the alarm system. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Does the alarm system stop the thing? No, it doesn't?
And some elevators are like that, some aren't. Expecting an email from somebody, don't open it up. Cancel it out. Because once you open that up, what do you think might be attached to that email site? Some spyware or malware, and then all of a sudden your computer is compromised, and now you're pulling your hair out trying to take care of that because you have some confidential or classified information or personal information on your computer, and once they get into that, then you have a bigger problem. So if you don't recognize that, don't open it up. Use passphrases now, because a lot of my confidential things with the state, they are looking for now passphrases, and then I have to change my password like every 60 days.
Yep.
So it's a pain, because now I have actually a notebook and I write everything down. And you can never reuse or combination of the original password and reuse it. So I have to write everything down because I have to change all my passwords. Avoid any kind of phishing scams. Basically, a phishing scam is through the internet. They'll actually send something through the email, and basically they're phishing for stuff like that. Everybody shop online, okay? Which is okay. Use their website. Don't use any kind of pop-ups or anything of that nature. Because a lot of the pop-ups, getting back to the pop-ups, everybody part of, like, say, Facebook, right? And they ask you, what do you like, for hobbies? And then you're on the internet, and all of a sudden something pops up from, like, Dick's Sporting Goods, and then maybe, like, motocross bikes. And you're like, why is this popping up? Because what you put on that, they sold that information. On the hard drive, the best way to get rid of everything is just to hit it with a hammer and destroy your hard drive. Because if you take it and you erase it, traces may be left. And if you are part of a lot of these electronic drives, they read all electronic devices, and you put it in a dumpster. Later on, who do you think's going through the dumpster? Trying to pull up the hard drives. Because they're not going to be reusing those computers, most likely. They're going to sell them as scrap, so they're going to destroy them anyway. So if you break your hard drive and still throw it back, you're not doing any kind of harm. Like I said, protect your portable devices. Don't leave unattended. Secure, your wireless network. Back up your files. Okay, you don't want to lose any data. Okay, with the credit reports, real important, okay? The Fair Credit Reporting Act, you can give one of three. One credit report free. You have 3 credit agencies there. So it means you can actually get one every 4 months. Okay, or if you have a bank that will give it for free, utilize that. Because you're gonna wanna know, because if someone does get your identity, okay, it's a lot easier to address that within 3 or 4 months than 1 year.